Do you remember what it was like to be 10 to 13 years old? Middle school. Remember those times? Okay, I think I heard a cringe happen from some of you, or maybe those were happy times for you. But now, fast forward to nowadays and all of the competition out there, all the influences, it would be easy for a tween, especially tween girls, to feel lost or maybe even a little bit unprepared for how to handle all the things that come at them. Well, today I have two guests who have some solutions. And today you're going to love the conversation we have because we are addressing how to handle hard things, the value of routine, motivation, and the value of giving back. Amazing information today for all of us parents out there, and a solution if you want extra support in your tween. Katie and Becky are raising 13 children between the two of them, cousins and partners in a program called I Believe in Me. This program aims at protecting and strengthening tweens amidst the ups and downs of middle school life. With backgrounds in business and health, they're the perfect combination to mentor tweens in this pivotal time of life. And with their online program, they're teaching life tools and habits to fight and protect against the rapid decline of mental health. As hosts in episodes, they guide girls as they work through the garden of life, establishing daily routines, actions, and mindsets that result in happiness and habits that last a long time. Enjoy our conversation and get ready to take some notes. I am absolutely delighted to have Becky and Katie here today. You guys, you're going to learn a lot from these women. They've had kind of a knock on the door from destiny to really step forward to help tweens and particularly young women. And I really want to hear from your words. In fact, welcome the two of you. So excited to have you
We're so happy to be here.
And I want to hear from you. What made you just step into creating this together? Because the both of you have such great backgrounds that you could meld together.
We came up with it kind of happened organically because our company I started years ago, over probably 12 years ago, we franchised. It's a company for elementary age girls that help them feel stronger and more confident. And Becky was highly involved in that company as well. And then those girls started to grow up. And parents loved the brand, and then they kept asking, but wait, they're going to hit the tween years, and those are the most crucial. They need, this type of support in this happy way, because it's a very happy approach for both companies, but very different programs. Because obviously the 10 to 13-year-old girls facing completely new things, different things than an elementary age girl. So the tools that we offer these sweet girls at this tween age are just different. And I knew Becky would be amazing. And we had already kind of talked about it a little bit before, but then when it really, like you said, you felt it from, that it was your destiny to do something like this. And as mothers of girls ourselves, we saw what was happening. We saw what was going to be coming for these girls. And it didn't look pretty in the eyes of the world, and the pressures and the just the measuring up, and you have to look a certain way, or you feel at least that you have to be a certain way. And we wanted these girls to celebrate their individuality and that the gifts that they have. So, and the gifts that the world needs. So that's how I talked to Becky a little bit more about it. And she immediately was sold. And then as soon as we started chatting, those juices, and it just was inspired. And so the program we've created, I Believe in Me, is just here to help strengthen and empower these girls so that they know that they're awesome, and that they know that they're needed, and that they can change this world for good.
That is so beautiful. And I remember those years myself, even though many years ago, how awkward you feel. And it's almost like, where do I belong? And what voice do I listen to? And there's so many voices out there right now. It's got to be confusing.
Yes, I would agree with you, Riz. And I remember what it was like to be in middle school, and I struggled. And I look at these kids now, and I have watched my own daughters, and I've worked with girls for forever. And I just think, wow, compared to what I went through, they are really going through the storms of life so much faster, so much harsher, and they aren't equipped per se, because I kind of feel like in a sense, we've become lazy in helping these girls be prepared. Parents are leaving too much up to somebody else to teach them, and schools are failing them because they're doing, I mean, it's like everybody's doing the best they can, but because our social climate and the world is changing and things are getting harder so quickly, I feel like these girls are grasping for a foundation, for stability, and it's too important of a time in their life to leave it to chance. We've got to give them tools to use so that they can create their future. They can be those powerful voices.
Well, I know you've created this beautiful program that I Believe in Me, but what I love about it is you have a theme. It's kind of a gardening theme. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So I love digging in the dirt. I'm not
Katie's the gardener. I'm not the gardener. Katie's the gardener.
I do love to grow things. I wouldn't claim like expertise or anything like that, but I do love digging in the dirt. And as I've been thinking, those parents would come to me, when are you going to create this program, a program for middle school girls? They need support. And it really just came. It came in the form of when I was gardening. And I just thought about, like, we each have our garden of life, and look at all the plants, all the flowers in the world. There are so many different ones. And I kind of thought, I kept thinking, okay, we all have our favorites. My favorite flower is the daisy. I know that Becky's is the tulip. But yet, if I only collected daisies, my garden would be pretty, but it would be kind of mundane and boring. And so then I thought about each of us, that we each have our unique gifts to grow and share. And if I'm a daisy, or I want to be a daisy, and then my friend next to me is a tulip, and then we've got a hydrangea together in a bouquet, we are so much more beautiful than apart and just, and mass produced. And you think about social media and like Becky said, all this new pressure that these girls feel that I never felt in high school. I didn't have a device.
Yeah, we weren't comparing ourselves every second of the day on a phone, right?
Right. I mean, it's totally different world they live in. And if they're always fed the daisy, you got to look like this, you got to act like this, these are the things you should like, this is who you should follow. I mean, even the term follower, I just, like, as a mother and as a teacher of young girls, I'm like, I do not want these girls for a second to think that they are a follower. I want them to be able to stand alone, be strong, celebrate who they are, grow the gifts and talents that are uniquely theirs, and be willing to share them with others, because it's in the sharing that we get even stronger. And so that grow and share mindset that you are a girl with gifts to grow and share. So I Believe in Me, that's who you are. You are a girl, individual who has unique gifts to grow and to share. And in those sharing, the courage to share them with your community, with your school, with your family, in your environment, that helps you grow even stronger, and that confidence grows. And that pattern of living, that is where the strength comes. And that's where you can stand alone aside from the world. You can be part of it, but you don't have to be so defined by it. You define who you are. You decide who you are and who you want to be, and get growing in your garden of life. And so then all the little, I mean, like you said,
all the analogies come in.
Yes. And we could
so
go on
great.
and on, but we break it down. We break it down into little specifics. The first thing we teach them is you're a girl with gifts to grow and share. And then we talk about your garden soil. Your garden soil has to be full of nutrients to grow plants and to grow garden. If it's not, it has too many rocks. If it has too much sand, it's not going to grow. And so we tell these girls that their soil is their mind and their heart. And I Believe in Me, you're checking in with your mind and your heart as you make choices for your garden of life. So that's kind of the foundation.
It's so powerful.
Well, and I'm so glad that you put the heart in there, because the heart is really where the emotions are. And then, of course, the head is where the thoughts are. And so when the two of those combine together, that's where beliefs come from. And so if you've got power over your head and your heart, you're empowered. I love that.
Exactly.
So is that what you were talking about? I know you had soil checks. Is that the soil checks that you were talking about?
Yes. So we teach these girls, when they are in a situation, whatever it might be, where they are making a decision, even on the daily, if it's at school or with social instances, or what they want to wear to a dance, or what they want to work on, there's a soil check that they can perform. And it's where they ask themselves two questions. Number one, does this make sense for me, my age, and my garden? So that's the thinking. Like, does this make sense? Let's check. What do I think? And then the second question is, how is my heart feeling? How does this make me feel? If I am feeling discouraged or less than or of low worth, then maybe this isn't a good environment for me, or maybe I need to change my path. I need to get out of this situation. And the thing is when we ask those two questions and we check in with our mind and our heart, like you said, we become self-aware. And these girls, if we're trying to help them realize, and our kids, no matter what age, you need to see how you feel. And then you have a choice. So do your soil check. See what the temperature is of your soil. Is it rocky? Is it full of nutrients? Are you able to grow? And depending on that answer, then take an action and either leave that party or stop gossiping with your friends in a circle, or get up in the morning and make your bed. If you've got a messy room, do a soil check while these girls are sitting in a room. When you go into your room, how do you feel? Are there clothes all over the floor? You can control your environment of how that room makes you feel, right? Same with our homes. Even as moms, we can do soil checks within our home. What's the temperature of our soil? Is this appropriate for our home? What we're bringing in, and how do we feel about it? So it's a great tool to help them become self-aware and have some integrity in their choices.
At that age group, and when they find out that they're in the wrong environment, in the wrong soil, how do you help them build the courage to maybe make that pivot turn instead of, because with your
it's hard.
little your peers, that's an intimidating thing.
It is. We give them, so our program is kind of divided into episodes. So, and they're called Planting the Seeds. So one of the Planting the Seeds episodes, in fact, we have multiple about soil checks, because soil checks, like Becky said, it's a self-monitoring system about all the different areas in their life at that point. There's media, right? What they're consuming on the screen or or music. There's fashion, what they're choosing to wear and present, their body in. Friends, right? School, and academics, their family, their relationships. And so it's just this system, we give so many examples. So your question on how do you help them navigate those different situations and what to do? We do so much role play and scenarios for all the different personality types. So like if, there's really easy ways. If let's say you're doing a soil check in a friend group, Becky mentioned gossiping. You're in this group and they're talking and chatting, and all of a sudden your heart's going to be pricked first, because it's just, that's uncomfortable.
Doesn't feel right.
Right. Someone's just blabbing off bad stuff about someone else. And then your mind's like, okay, this isn't connecting because what they're saying is not true. Or maybe it is true, but it's something that we shouldn't be repeating out loud with other people. You have some choices. And so we just run scenarios all the time in our episodes. You can change the subject. Hey, did you guys see the new Mission Impossible movie? Or you can just leave. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll see you guys after class. Or you can, even if you have the courage enough to be like, hey guys, let's find some good stuff to say, which is probably the trickiest one. But we give them all the different levels, like in that scenario. And so, and we talk a lot about the why behind it. Why don't you want to be involved in things like that? Because it's going to make it'll make your garden wilt. It'll make whoever's talking poorly about someone, it'll make them wilt. We're all about the business of growing and building and lifting others around us. So we just talk about scenario after scenario after scenario. So in those moments, they can recall, oh, I can change the subject. Oh, I can go to the bathroom. I can smile. I can give a compliment. Compliments are always change the subject. Your hair looks so cute today. And the whole thing is just shifted in a happy way.
I think that's beautiful. Giving options. You're like filling their garden tool belt with all of
yes, exactly.
You're speaking our language. Yes.
So how can a mother that's listening to this today, how could they help their tween with disappointments and failures? And, what is a way that we as mothers can aid in that? Because it's a hard thing to see your child suffering, and some don't even want to talk to their mothers. I mean, what do we do as a mother to approach and help?
Well, the first thing we do is love and validate, right? And not have an agenda. I feel like as moms, maybe we go into a situation with an end in mind, and we have to be around, we have to be approachable and loving and validate whatever that child might be going through, whatever that tween is experiencing. And we like to help them realize that these trials in their lives are actually opportunities for them to grow stronger. So for instance, if we compare these hard things, whatever it might be, to a worm in our garden, right? And as you're digging through the soil, you come upon like a worm and you jump back and it's like, ah, there's a worm. It scares you. It takes your breath away. It's icky. It's not something you expected to see in your soil or in your garden that day, and you want it out, right? So you take out that worm, it leaves a hole in the soil. And if we can help these kids realize that when hard things happen, when worms appear in your garden and there's a hole, you have a choice on what you're going to fill that wormhole with. Are you going to sit and play a victim and complain and focus on the negative? Or are you going to turn around and realize that, you know what? This worm is actually irrigating and bringing in nutrients to my soil. Every good gardener knows, as Katie would tell, that you actually need worms in your garden because they aerate the soil. They bring in the hard, and that helps you grow. So you can fill that wormhole with light. You have a choice on how you're going to look at this hard thing. So we have to validate and love and encourage, but then also help these kids realize that you don't have to stay in the negative. You don't have to focus on the hard, but looking at this opportunity of this worm to grow and become stronger. See how are we going to use this to help you be a better person? Like what are you learning from this instance? Even though it might be as hard as if it's divorce, if you've moved, if you didn't make a team, if you got into a fight with your friend, it's times like that, even as adults, when that's when we learn and that's when we grow, is when we're stretched and there's more required of us than there was before. And it tugs at our heart, but that's life. Life is hard. And we don't want to teach these kids, oh, you're never going to, life's going to be so easy. You're just going to, sail right through and it's going to look picture perfect. And that's not the case. Life is hard. You're going to have worms. Everybody's got worms.
Everybody has worms. That's what we say.
Right. And the power in that is you have a choice on what to do when that worm shows up in your garden, and to be grateful for it. We should be grateful for, I'm sure all of us have been through hard things that we could think of in our life. And it's only after the fact that we're wise enough to say, oh, I'm grateful for that because it taught me this. And now I'm more empathetic towards people who are experiencing this. And then we can turn around and strengthen others. It's one of those opportunities that we have to not shy away from and not be scared of.
It's like learning that paradigm shift that
yes.
young is so valuable, because I know a lot. Well, we all know people who live the life of being a victim, but yes. Hard things, like you said, I agree with that. It's like going to the gym and wanting to be strong in your life, but avoiding the weights. And you're just watching everybody else, but you're not even lifting any weights and expecting to get strong. We have to expect that there's going to be those growth opportunities. I love that you're helping them see that it's about learning. It's about growth in the moment, even what am I learning?
About choice.
Coming. Yes.
You have a choice, and it all lies within your mind and your heart. I just get chills. I get chills when I think about it.
I love kind of easing the burden of these adolescents, where it's like everybody has worms. That's what life is about, are the trials and the unexpected things that come your way that you weren't asking for, or maybe sometimes accidentally or not realizing it, you kind of created the problem. But when you find yourself in that moment with that wormhole, it kind of ties into another garden analogy that we always come back to, that when there's a plant, a strong plant or a strong tree, in order to stay strong, no matter the storm, no matter the trial, no matter the failure, you have to have strong roots. So you don't get blown over. You don't just go with any whim or any idea that someone presents to you or suggests to you. You know how to stay strong. So when that wormhole comes, that unexpected thing that pops up in your life that you weren't asking for, or all of a sudden you're faced with this trial, you can return to your roots. So
your basics.
Yeah. Your routines are the roots. I think a lot of times kids feel, well, any adult, anyone can feel a little bit paralyzed when a trial comes, if it takes your breath, you're kind of like, what do I even do now? Like, you know, especially the big ones, like a family, like health crisis or a family movie, like, you just don't even know what step to take next. And we break it down. We say routines are your roots. You have a plan in your morning. You get up, you make your bed, you know, depending on what day of the week it is, you plan ahead for school or you plan ahead for a family activity, you participate, and you kind of have a set little routine in the morning and the night. And that keeps you physically moving forward, where you have all is not lost. You're not staying in bed all day. Your room isn't just a mess because you're dropping clothes all the time. You're staying a little bit on top of, and that sounds kind of silly. Like, wait a minute, how is making my bed going to help me get through a trial? But like, I think about, I mean, we share in one of the episodes, Becky really opens up about something that happened in her family. She lost her brother at a really, and that is probably family could go through a huge worm in their life, and it could leave a huge hole. It will always leave a lasting hole. But her mom, Becky, talks in one of the episodes about, and I don't want to speak for Becky, but I think it's
You're good.
beautiful about how a mother in charge of a household can keep that family moving forward in the little routines of life. And because they're moving forward, even though it's hard and they're really grieving, it's like they're becoming stronger. That wheel of family life is just, it's still going. I think when we choose to stop, that's when there's no such thing as you're either growing or you're wilting. You can't just stay, oh, I'm good. I'm strong. I'm good. I don't have to do anything else. Like you said, it is a constant process of choosing to work forward in your garden of life, no thrown your way. And in that comes the strength and the resilience that lasts a lifetime and that can help lift others. I mean, you're even sharing, we talk about growing and sharing. Her family was a total example of sharing what to do and how to get through something so hard. I mean, that's what life is about. We're all sharing our different strengths and experiences to help each other to grow.
Becky, when you went through that as a family, did you realize what your mother was doing for you guys? Did you realize the orchestration that was happening?
No, at the time I was 10 and he was 8 when he passed away. And it's interesting now to look back from my 10-year-old perspective and, you know, see how my parents kept us going, and to just be in complete awe and grateful for it. But it was hard. I'm not going to say it's not like we had this amazing routine. It was just we simplified our routine. And that's the beauty of a routine, is you can build on it, or you can bring it back to the basics as when you need to. And when you're just surviving, you still need to have some foundationals for your children, for yourself. And then interestingly enough, you know, a few years later, we experienced loss again when my nephew passed away at age 20. And I was living right next door to my sister when it happened. And like, just because of my own family life, I was very set on my routines, and my kids knew my routines. And all of a sudden, my sister's world went out from under her. And I was her support. I was the next, you know, best thing to my mom. My mom wasn't in town. She was coming. She was on her way. But I was so grateful for the habit that my mom had instilled from a very young age to start a routine, keep a routine, have a family routine. Because at this moment when my sister needed someone to depend on, and I had 7 children at home, my kids knew the routine and I could break away. And I was at my sister's more than I was at home. So having kind of that structure within the home provided me to go help and to go share, I guess, in a sense, my strength with my sister and lift her when she couldn't keep going. But I was there to be like, okay, let's get out of bed. Let's make your bed. Let's take a shower. Just even those simple things at a time where your grieving is so deep can save you, because it just connects the dots, if it's all that it is. So I definitely have a huge belief in routines and the foundational of those roots that we've got to strengthen in our families, in these girls, because hard things are going to come, right?
Or they already have. And Becky,
They already have.
Beautiful. Think about your kids, how they knew the routine and they were able to share their knowledge and their abilities so you could go help their aunt. That they were growing. And just by
Right.
serving and sharing there, it's like, it really is beautiful how routines just root us and keep things steady amidst the storms.
And
Yep.
it's kind of a default mode for the brain to be able to go into something familiar. And of course, the subconscious, I'm the little science nerd. So it just keeps us in that habitual in what the chemicals, everything has been established anyway.
Yes.
But it also teaches the brain that no matter what, we can still go forward. And I know in our program, we talk about, if you feel stuck in life, the best thing to do is get up and physically start moving. Because then the brain goes, oh, we're moving. And then it just starts that ball rolling again that you're talking about. But how beautiful. That's so beautiful. How do we teach our children's, enthusiasm or motivation? And, you're talking about routines, but how do we get them motivated?
Well, one of the things that we talk a lot about, and we reference BJ Fogg, is celebrating
Yes.
the little things that happen every day. Like this, just like you woke up, that's so amazing, and maybe the bigger things. Like I could just imagine, I'm sure the moment in Becky's house when she came home after helping her sister and her house was still running, to be able to embrace her kids and say, thank you. Like, I am so proud of you guys, how you stepped up and took the lead in our home when I was not there. How much I can depend on you, how resilient you are. I needed your help today, and you were really there for your mom. Thank you. You can see it in your child's face when you have a moment like that. Like when you recognize, like even just yesterday, I had asked my 10-year-old boy to do something, and I get lots of moans during the summer because they're in play mode. And then you ask them to do something and they're like, oh, because they're not used to the normal like responsibility routines as much. And I had mentioned it the day before. I was like, Dane, you have got to like that is not the response we need. You played all day. And the next day he corrected himself. Like he immediately did what I asked. And so I just stopped in that moment and celebrated. Dane, thank you. I noticed when I asked you to do this that I didn't get a moan. And that really kept the brightness and the sunshine in our family's garden, I guess you would say. I didn't use that garden term there, but for this discussion here. And just the smile and the look of kind of pride that he had in that moment, celebrating just the little thing that I had asked him to do that I noticed he actually did. That was like better than any toy I could have handed him, because it was like it rooted deep down in his self-worth, little channel. And so I think celebration is huge. And I think that motivates, they feel the love of their parent and the gratitude we have for them in that moment. And that love motivates. I think the love between a child and a parent and in a family can motivate stronger than anything.
Yes. And I will also add, so it's that external, validation and motivation, but then the internal, which is a real struggle, right? And Dr. BJ Fogg, which we talk about some of his practices in a few episodes, where he says motivation is a farce. Like you've got to create the desire. Like, it's like, where do you come up with that motivation? Like, how do you just all of a sudden think, oh, I want to clean my room, or I want to study for my test? But we know from research that's been done for 30 years that emotions create habits. And so, like Katie is saying, we teach these kids to celebrate the tiny wins in their day, finding a mantra or finding something that they're going to say about themselves, like, oh, I'm awesome. Yes, I'm awesome. That emotion, that mantra is creating an emotion in their brain, which will actually trigger a dopamine response. It will feel good, right? Anytime when a parent validates or compliments a child, it feels good because there's a response, there's a chemical response happening in your brain. So we teach these kids, we teach these girls, you can create that response in your brain. You have to become your biggest cheerleader. Find a phrase that works for you. It's going to be different for everybody. Mine is, I'm awesome. Yes, I'm awesome. Obviously, I just used it. But for somebody, it might be, woohoo, I did it, or I got this, or whatever it might be. It's going to be different for each girl. And then as she's going throughout her day, when she does something as tiny as can be, as like putting her backpack, ready for the next day, I'm awesome. Then she feels good. Then the next day, she's going to want to feel good again. She will repeat the behavior. it's very similar to like, we know video games are so fun to play, and because they're creating these little dopamine drops with the little, win, yeah, you did it, like the little ding 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 with the coins, all of those stimulants in the brain are dropping dopamine. These girls can do that. They can create those emotions to help them get over, like to do that next thing. And once you've cleaned your room, guess what? You better celebrate it. You did awesome. Like, look at this. So that process of bringing emotion into your habits, into your routines, into what your purpose of what you're doing will help you want to come back and do it again. Just like Katie's son wanted to do it again because he felt good when his mom told him, hey, thanks for doing that. You did awesome. Like, good for you.
And I
And that's
think
so powerful that you're teaching the external and the internal motivation.
Yes.
And that internal is where we've got to be. That's what going to go with us through our life, because we're not always going to have mom there or someone there giving us a little praise or push or whatever. And I agree with motivation. We can't sit around waiting to be motivated. I don't think that's an emotion that all of a sudden hits us one day and we're like, oh my gosh, now I'm motivated.
No, they have literally proven that motivation doesn't just appear. You have to start doing something and then telling yourself, this is great, I can do this. That will keep you going.
And I think everyone needs a purpose in life. And that is where, like, I feel like that's where a lot of motivation comes from. Even having a discussion as a family of everyone has gifts to grow and share. And this world needs you. Everyone needs to feel needed because everyone is needed. And I need people that have strengths where my weaknesses are, and we all complement each other. So if I choose not to share my gifts, then that's a hole left in this world. So these tweens, you ask, like, how do parents help motivate these tweens? And it's really talking about discovering what their gifts are. And I feel like one of my jobs as a parent is to help with the discovery, to provide opportunities to, if they want to try volleyball, let's get you to try volleyball and let's try our hardest to see, like, if that is something that sticks. If you want to, start a little business, like a babysitting business or a trash can cleaning business to earn money because you're really motivated by money, let's learn a skill with that. Let's build it together. Let's serve the community around us. And let's see where that grows. I guess what you want to say is I'm helping these kids see where they can grow. And then when we find something, or maybe as a parent, sometimes they don't want to do it, start Little League, but we knew we had a talent in Little League. And so it's kind of, you have to like kind of force them out the door sometimes and motivate in different ways. Sometimes we even use money where it's like, okay, every flagpole in flag football, because you're just standing there on the team, but we know you're fast and you can help your team. Every flagpole is $5. Every touchdown is 10. And did we do that for our other son? No, because he was so competitive. He was already doing all of that. But this one needed a little push and he had the best season ever. Are we going to do that same thing next season? No, because he's felt it inside.
Yes, the emotion.
Yes, he has felt it inside. But sometimes as parents, we have to find that and help that spark ignite. And then we can take a step back. We don't have to use money. We don't have to use toys. You know what I mean? But we know each child is different. So we might have to use a different strategy to help discover, ignite, and then blow that flame, and that's, I feel like, a big job for us as parents. And then to teach them to share, to give back, to serve. That is the magic that creates that emotion that is lasting forever, that makes them realize, okay, it just takes it sucks the selfish away of the woe is me, the what's in it for me, the I want, I deserve. It just sucks all that
outward.
away. And then they realize they're creating sunshine for their family's garden, for their neighborhood's garden, for their siblings. And that emotion is what motivates for a lifetime. They know the difference.
Yes, that's the confidence. It's the worth. It's that worth. I love it. Yeah.
How do I feel after I've played a day of video games? Like groggy and like, bleh. How do I feel after a day of getting my body running at football and then celebrating after with my family and ice cream because I did a good job, or just anything, or after that test that I worked really hard and mom knew I had to study and we got to the extra study session at school and everyone kind of helped together to grow that little, plant of math in my life. And it just, that feeling is so much better than what's in it for me.
The crescendo is to be able to share their gifts. And we know with your analogy of gardening that when a plant has fruit and it's not shared, it just drops and rots. And so
Yes,
for
yes.
us to really be able to make a difference, we've got to share that and proliferate out there. Such a beautiful program that you've developed. And so tell me a little bit. I know it's an online program. How long is it? How do they connect with you, etc.?
The easiest way is to go to bloomfully.com and you'll see both programs, Singer's Company, the younger, and I Believe in Me, what we've been talking about, like that garden program. And it's online. Each girl gets her specific logins, a specific, very safe website. There's not going to be any pop-up ads, any, external videos popping up. It's very, very safe and private. Parents can have access at all times with their daughter's login, and they watch the episode. So yep, bloomfully.com is the easiest way to find us. And it's for the 10 to 13-year-old girl. But obviously what we've talked about applies to everybody. So
we kind of discussed before we started recording that, everyone needs these skills. And
Right.
when the parent knows the skills, then they can help assist, and they know exactly what they're working on. So yeah, I know you kind of mentioned that sometimes the parent is looking over the shoulder or checking in. And I have the same thing with my program where the parent is reading the manual saying, is that okay? It's like, well, not only is it okay, but we also teach the adults because we feel like
Yes,
there's
it's
skills that we all
encouraged.
needed. And I don't
Yes.
know, ladies, did you have these skills when you were young? Did you learn these as an adult, and now you've recognized what the hole was that needed to be filled?
I think that's a very, very good question. We haven't been asked that question before. I know growing up, I was the fifth of 7 kids, and I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. I had I had tons of support in the home, but like I remember when I had to learn, I wanted my hair braided in French braids, but my mom was busy with lots of kids, and it was a little bit crazy, and I kind of had to teach myself, and I did. And I think I had to kind of forge my way on a little, just if I wanted what I wanted, I was motivated to have braids. No one could really do it for me yet, or do the braid around and I just feel like, so my personality is already, I think, like, let's just tackle it and do it. If I want it, I'm going to do it. And so I do feel like at a young age, I learned how to do that. And then working with younger children, I could just see what a compliment would do for a child and just lifting them. Like you had mentioned earlier when we were talking, you discovered that, wagging your finger and getting on people for doing something wrong doesn't motivate them to go grow. It makes them wilt. And I saw that the pattern of lifting and helping them discover and complimenting and building, even though if it wasn't perfect, we're never going for perfection. That's impossible. But that stimulated growth and motivated and created motivation to grow more than anything. And so seeing that as a teacher and taking it to this next age group, it was just really natural that it go and share to keep growing and get stronger.
I would have to say both. I would have to say a little bit of both. I mean, at this point in my life where, I'm older and I've been through a lot of life experiences, and I'm still raising children. I still have children in my home and adult children. And I can remember being a child. I think for me, it's a choice of, I can pass on my wisdom or I can pass on my worries, because I've had hard things happen to me. And I don't want to do that. I want to help people learn from maybe my mistakes and from my heartaches, and pass on wisdom and encourage and uplift. Same as Katie. Like, I've just seen the difference in my own life when I focus on the negative and I'm not growing as a person. And I've seen the difference when I am. And it's just such a small, simple choice in my mind and my heart on a daily basis that has so much power. And I want to pass on that wisdom. And I want to tell people that hard things can happen to you, but you don't have to stay there. You can actually keep growing, keep becoming, who you're supposed to be, find your calling, find your purpose, and go strengthen, add value to the people around you. And that makes me happy. And so I want to share it.
Well, I have loved conversing with the two of you today. I feel like I've met my like-minded people out there. We're just trying to empower and make a difference and give tools, applicable tools that, like you said, in any situation you're in, you have a resource or you've already learned something, a way that you can navigate this life. And there's so much anxiety and stress. And I agree. I don't know if I could do it if I were a tween right now with everything that they're going against. But I love that you've created a program specifically for that age group.
I think just we would love and believe in these girls and these tweens, even boys too. Like we just know they're our future, and the world needs them, and the world needs the best parts of them, their gifts. Like we just believe and love them, and that's why we're here. I know that's why you do what you do. That we see that they deserve extra support for all that they have to face, and like Becky said, we can give our worries or our wisdom, and I wouldn't claim to be wise, but we just love them. We love them with all of our heart.
One of our mantras is strong minds, strong hearts, and strong girls. We know that these girls can change the world, and they can stand wherever they're planted, bloom where they're planted. If they can strengthen their mind, go to school, work hard, strengthen their hearts, forgive, be grateful, all of these skills that obviously take, episodes to teach, but if they can harness a strong mind and a strong heart, they will be able to withstand whatever comes their way.
And I believe we are conscious creators.
Yes.
We create the life that we want to live. And so when we have those tools and skills to be able to step into that and out of the influence of the world, I think we are empowered to be able to go forward. So delighted to meet the two of you. And so thank you for this time and all these precious tools that you've been able to teach us today. Sure appreciate you coming in and listening today.
Thank you
so much.